With men, what is the biggest thing that you think men need to know right now today about how to have better erections?
I think for generally what men need to know is that there are a lot of things that you can do to support your erectile function. They start fairly young in life, in your late 30s, early 40s. You can have what I lovingly call a bangin' boner for your entire life till the day you die. When you begin to lose that function, when you have that atrophy, there are many, many things that you can do to reverse the atrophy and to maintain really strong function. Where you are in the curve, what I'm kind of focused on is ageless pleasure. If you think about your health span and your happiness span, if you look at all the data, the longer through your life that you can have pleasurable intimacy, orgasmic intimacy. And I don't like to call it sex because I feel like most people equate sex to penetrative intercourse, which, I mean, I've literally written an entire volume on orgasmic intercourse, mutually satisfying orgasmic intercourse. I love to teach men what the vagina wants. For men, sure, you can have a sex life with a not so firm penis, but why would you want to when you could have a nice hard one doing some simple things? And so that's really the first thing that I want men to do, is to fight for their firmness.
Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about all things sex with an amazing, prolific sex expert. Susan Bratton is with me today, and we are going to just pick her brain for all the things that she has been educating people worldwide about for years. So welcome, Susan.
Hi, Dr. Durst. You know, you and I are a match made in heaven. Do we have an alignment on our areas of interest or what? I mean, my God, I think we could spend about 1,000 hours just talking about things because we have such an overlap in our interest areas, regenerative therapies. And I mean, it's just so much fun. So I'm super psyched to finally do an episode with you and to be here today in support of your wonderful audience. And I know they actually really rely on your advice, and I see all the great comments you get and all of the things that you're covering, and it's just really nice to be with someone who's like right in the zone, in the same place I am.
We could probably talk for hours. I have watched you and your material and content for years now. And again, the topics that we could go on about are endless. So we'll have to like narrow it down to an hour of stuff, and then maybe again at some other point. But yes, I am so happy to have you on the podcast. So where do you want to get started today? Like, again, we have so many topics. You just choose one, and then I'm going to pick your brain. I think male sexual wellness is something that you have been educating men. And you have about 1.5 million people that you've educated worldwide on the topic of sexual wellness. And so with men, what is the biggest thing that you think men need to know right now today about how to have better erections?
Sure. Well, I think for generally what men need to know is that there are a lot of things that you can do to support your erectile function. They start fairly young in life, in your late 30s, early 40s. And I think that all of the conversation that women are having now around perimenopause, late 30s, moving into early 40s, and being aware that things are changing, I think that's going to have a downstream positive effect on men's awareness of their own erectile function. So I would say there are two things. The first is that you can have what I lovingly call a bangin' boner for your entire life till the day you die. That is normal and natural. And I don't want people to think that there's this planned obsolescence of erectile function and that it is normal to lose function. When you begin to lose that function, when you have that atrophy, there are many, many things that you can do to reverse the atrophy and to maintain really strong function. So no matter where you are in the curve, what I'm kind of focused on is ageless pleasure. if you think about your health span and your happiness span, if you look at all the data, the longer through your life that you can have pleasurable intimacy, orgasmic intimacy. And I don't like to call it sex because I feel like most people equate sex to penetrative intercourse, which, I mean, I've literally written an entire volume on orgasmic intercourse, mutually satisfying orgasmic intercourse. I love to teach men what the vagina wants, but
we're going
because
to
we
talk
don't,
about that.
yeah, we don't see that out there. We really see very penis oriented depictions of sexuality. And so for a lot of guys, they give up on their erectile function because they give up on their sex life because their partner has given up on sex. And that's because they haven't gotten access to information and education about female pleasure and enough of it. And the studies show that the longer that you can keep having orgasmic intimacy, so essentially the studies are male ejaculatory response, for every 10 years that you keep having intimate ejaculatory pleasure, you gain another 2 years of health span and happiness span. And the happiness span comes from just feeling close and connected, from the oxytocin, from the neurotransmitter cascade, from the hormone cascade, from the nervous system rebooting, from the vascular event of ejaculation and the orgasmic experience of all the blood flow to your brain, improving cognitive function, stimulating natural killer cells, improving IgA. I mean, I could do an hour on the benefits of fighting for your sex life. And for men, sure, you can have a sex life with a not so firm penis, but why would you want to when you could have a nice hard one doing some simple things? And so that's really the first thing that I want men to do, is to fight for their firmness.
All right. And what did you call it at first? The boner? What was the
bangin' boner?
The bangin' boner. I love that. I love that. And so I think that just the fact that they're talking about longevity a lot more, but they're talking about like muscle building and other things. But you bring up such an important point. All the positive benefits physiologically to continued sex and orgasmic sex. You just brought up a ton.
I call orgasmic intimacy the fourth factor of longevity. If you want to extend your sex span, to extend your health span and your happiness span, then yes, of course you need sleep, nutrition, and movement, right? You need those three things, but you also need pleasurable intimacy. It really is the thing that our culture is too uptight to talk about.
So when you talk about this, I've heard you say the upward pleasure spiral. So like sex getting better as we age, not just having it and continued sex and orgasms, but actually getting better. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah.
They need to hear that.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of what I do, so I'm a sex educator. I publish passionate lovemaking techniques, bedroom communication skills, and intimate wellness information. The latest and greatest things to keep that boner banging, as well as keep your vulvovaginal system, incredibly lush, plush, highly orgasmically responsive, really juicy, very satisfying. And what's interesting is that our sexual maturation parallels our overall personal maturation. It's just like the mastery of any other thing that we do in our lives, whether it's playing a musical instrument or becoming a great cook or having a beautiful garden or painting beautiful landscapes or writing whatever we're doing, we get better at it as we do it. And for your sex life, the more practice that you get, the better you get, the more you can orgasmically cross-train and orgasmically activate your genitals so that you have more intensity of pleasure, duration of pleasure, kinds of stimulation that generate orgasm. I'm extremely orgasm focused because I mean, honestly, why should you have sex if you're not having orgasms? Orgasms are the nexus, the kernel of gold in sexual function and pleasure. And so the more of them we can have, the healthier we are. both male and female bodied partners. And
Mm.
so because orgasms are learned skills, it's really important to keep learning them. There's over 20 kinds of orgasms the body can have. There's really an unlimited amount of orgasmic capacity in our body. And I have spent decades expanding my own orgasmic response and capacity, activating my body, having more kinds of orgasms, as
Mhm.
have the partners that I've been with over the decades. So I think that when you have the growth mindset,
Mhm.
then you begin and you have a willingness to learn new things, whether it's new pleasuring techniques. And I really think there's key areas of knowledge. The first area, I always really like to give structured thinking to people. So they're like, okay,
Mhm.
now I know what I'm going for. I'll fill in the details as I go. So
Mhm.
the first one is the three big things to learn are skills, pleasuring skills, understanding your genital anatomy, your physical anatomy, knowing how to do kissing and breast pleasure and nipple play and oral pleasuring and intercourse and full body sensual touch and those kinds of things all have unique skills that you can learn, hundreds, thousands of techniques. But
Mhm.
those are basically useless if you don't have good bedroom communication. So that's the second of the three legs of the stool of a sex life that keeps getting better, the one on the upward pleasure spiral. And I think about the
Okay.
upward pleasure spiral as the helix of DNA, but it's like the
Mhm.
two souls who grow together and experience more ecstatic co-creative bliss in their sensuality together. So communication skills, it
Mhm.
starts with being able to pay attention to what your body's telling you and speak on behalf of your physical entity to your partner and have your partner be happy to hear what you need in any given moment. And then it
Mhm.
moves into encouragement, appreciation, direction, giving and receiving. Then it moves into things like moaning and making noise and learning how to be really present with your partner. And then moving into things like fantasy and pillow talk and sensual talk and something I call sharing frames. It's actually something I learned from my mentor. I have had some really incredible mentors whose work and lineages I carry on. And sharing frames is like the frame comes from almost like a Polaroid or like a snapshot of a
Mhm.
moment while you were making love with your partner where your body just felt so incredible. And when you describe that after the fact to your partner, so all this communication, it happens, before, during, and after when you kind of do your debriefing, and you're like, when we were trying that new penis, that vibrating penis ring, and I was riding you and I was on top of you, cowgirl, and I was barely moving. I was doing something very different than we normally do, which is more movement and sliding and grinding. And I was just kind of like riding the sensation of the vibrating ring. You were pleasuring my breasts and kissing me and telling me how beautiful I was. And I was just like feeling you inside me, and the slowness and the stillness of that moment was so incredible for me. It made me feel like I was very grounded and connected to you in a way that more movement didn't or doesn't feel. It really deeply connected me to you. And you'd be like, oh, wow, that's interesting. I was kind of feeling like that ring was, for the first time we were using it, it was a little distracting for me, but you were enjoying it so much that I was actually really enjoying that with you. And when you start to talk about things like that, when you're trying something new together, and then you're giving a frame, a snapshot of a corporeal or body based experience.
Mhm.
Afterward, you can start to tune into each other really. You can begin to feel a little less lost and wondering what's happening with your partner. And you can like rest in the satisfaction that they're going to tell you if they need anything, that they're having a great time. It calms down the system. And when the system is
Yeah.
calm, arousal can build. Stress is the enemy of turn on. So communication skills is number 2. And then number 3, which is where you and I really have a vibe. Like we are
Mm-hmm.
two sides of the same coin in so many ways, like soul sisters, is around regenerative therapies. And not even that, but
Yes.
sexual optimization, not just
Mm.
repairing the damage of aging, etc., or poor lifestyle choices, or just a lack of exposure to the possibility of regenerative therapy. But even
Mm-hmm.
before that, the optimization of really activating your genitals and having them work like, like a super champs, and so those are the
Yes.
3 things that I think if you go through life going, okay, I'm going to focus on the health of my genital structures. I'm going to keep them in really high level working order. I'm going to make them work even better. Every year they're going to get better instead of get worse. I'm committed to my life, and I need to use communication skills as the foundation and learn techniques and have new experiences as I go. Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes, I love that. I felt like I was there in the moment when you were telling the
Mm.
story. That was awesome. See what she does when she educates. But also I think what you do is missing. Like I agree. The bond we have is that there's a basis and we can regenerate, and a man or a woman can have the
Yeah.
same sex, if not better, as
Better.
they get
Totally.
older.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I think that the missing piece is the communication and kind of opening partners. We do a lot of couples, but opening them to
Good.
communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And I find that that's hard sometimes, especially if they're coming in alone. And
Yeah.
then when we get the partner in the room, it is a segue, like it's an opening to them communicating, and they have an outside source. But you do that, and like you do that amazingly well. Like
Thank
just
you.
opening them up. I felt like I was there. But do you find like couples have trouble? And how would you suggest
Mhm.
that they open that communication if they never have? Because I
Yeah.
think it's key.
Yeah, there's 2 things I'll give your viewers and listeners now. I think we want to cover so much ground that I won't deep dive into them. I'll
Hmm.
just give them now. I think the bedroom communication that is skill that is the foundation for the upward pleasure spiral is something I wrote called the Sexual Soulmate Pact, PACT, like an agreement. And
Okay.
basically what it does is it solves, I think, 2 of the biggest problems that happen in the way our culture deals with sexuality. And the first is that we're not given any skills. We're not even given the names. We don't even know what the parts of our genitals are called. So we don't
Mm-hmm.
have sexual literacy. We honestly have sexual illiteracy, but it's getting
Mm-hmm.
better. Though, thank you for having me, because I'm constantly shadow banned, and I always joke that the title of my autobiography is going to be Segs, SEGGS, because I can't even say the word sex on the internet. It's
Right?
like
Yes.
so
No.
frustrating, as you
I
know.
think I think it's changing a little bit. I think we're onto something now. It should change anyhow. But yeah, so
I think
you
we might be
have
going backward.
you think?
I do. Yeah,
I feel
I think
like
it's getting
with
hard.
I don't feel that in practice.
Yeah.
And
You have an MD title, so they give you a little more leeway,
mm,
but I'm a sex educator specifically. And so, and I run a business mastermind with almost 100 sex educators, sexologists, sex therapists, et cetera. And, in the MD space, you get a little more latitude.
mm,
But for the entire world of sexology and sex therapists, they're extremely deprecated on the internet. Very hard to find the data. Constant strikes,
oh,
shadow bans, shutting our accounts down, all kinds of things. So yeah, there's
oh,
so much out there that people don't even know about because we can't get the light to shine on it. So this is why being on a show like yours is so helpful for people. For you to host this show is so good of you. It takes time, money, focus, energy. I mean, it is really a labor of love. I know it's a labor of love, and I know it's a
yeah,
cost
oh yeah,
center for you. So
yeah.
thank you for doing that. But the
Well, we
sexual,
need to do
we do.
series. We need to do a series of the so that we do the SEG series then
Yeah, we
from
should do
this
the
point
sex
on.
series.
I know, yeah.
So I just want to
Um,
drop the link for the Sexual Soulmate Pact
yes.
because I want your followers to get this foundational piece of communication, which is how do you begin to talk to each other in the bedroom? If you can't do that, you can't, all the techniques in the world don't matter, because you won't know if your partner likes it or doesn't like it, is willing or isn't willing, felt good or didn't feel good or whatever. And because women generally are quite shy, culturally shamed a bit about desire, etc., we often don't even know what we want. We might know what we're getting isn't right, but we don't even speak up because we don't know what would be right for us. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is that because men in our culture, unfortunately, grow up in a pecking order where if you make a mistake, you're a loser, right? They don't want to make any mistakes. And if their partner says, hey, could you do it harder or softer or whatever, they feel like they were wrong. Instead of just getting information that they need to win, they take it personally. And so their partners don't say anything. They'd rather just get it over with. Then you're in the land of duty booty, mercy sex, begging for sex. Your partner never initiates, all that kind of stuff. And it was funny because I walked into I've been gone. I've been traveling a lot lately. After decades, my career is taking off, which is nuts. But I got home and I walked into the kitchen this morning and I was like, baby, we need to have some dates this week. It's been too long since we've had a good, lovemaking series where we've gotten together, because he's been traveling and I've been traveling. And I'm like, we're home for a while. Let's get stuff on the calendar. And you need to initiate. So you have to get the times for me. You have to get showered and cleaned up. You've got to get the fascinator on the bed and get the lubes out. And I said, I literally have a stack of sex toys by my bed that I want to try. Because I try a lot of things to give people advice about what I think are the best toys for orgasmic activation. I'm like, I have a stack of things we need to try. And he's like, okay, how about today? And I said, good. I got to check my calendar, but I think by the end of the day, I think I got some time. And so we schedule our dates, but he has to get up and make it happen. If 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock, by the time it's 8 o'clock, I got to go to bed. I have such an active life right now. I work out, I strength train, I do HIIT, I'm doing red light, I'm doing cryo, I'm traveling, I'm doing podcasts, I'm doing writing. I am busy. Yes. And so all the good intentions that I have, I won't initiate. I'll say I want it so he knows, but I won't. 4 o'clock comes around. If he's not doing something to make it happen, it's not going to happen. I don't do it. And the reason I don't do it is I want him to want me. I want him to make the effort. I don't want to do all the heavy lifting. I told him I want to have sex with him, and now it's his job to make it happen. That is not unusual. And the reason that I say that, and whether you like me for it or not, I don't care. Women, we are responsive in our desire, and we need our masculine men, our leaders, to clear the path, lay us down, get us out of our head, get us into our body, allow us to get our arousal ramped up, give us our yoni massages, let us get things off our chest, rub our feet, tell us we're beautiful. Like, we need all those things, because once you get us going, we have insatiable appetites for pleasure. But that is just a part of being estrogen dominant, a part of societal and cultural mores. And so we've just learned we have a no-fault sex life. We're reality-based, and this is what works for us and works for most people. Of course, there are people in relationships where the woman initiates because her partner doesn't. There's, everything's a bell curve in Susan Bratton land. We're human. It's Homo sapien. I got no control over people. But when you go with that, it just tends to work the best for the most people. I say to guys, I just want to finish off with one thing. I'm like, do you take out the trash every Sunday like clockwork, or whatever day your trash day is? Do you, if there's a rat that gets caught in the trap, who takes that out. You like, there are some jobs that are like naturally oriented in a male female pair bond to dudes, and
Yeah.
initiation goes in with
I would agree. I would agree. So there's two things. Like, even I agree with you completely. It's again, the alpha man they want. So I think what I'm hearing, number one, is that you are making the decisions for your life every day. You're in charge. You are large and in charge all day long, and you want him to be in charge of that. And
just getting me
that's just
going.
common. Yes.
Just
Well,
get
then
me
it
into
comes.
bed.
Well, it comes down to that spontaneous
Responsive.
versus responsive.
Yeah.
Like 80% of women
Right.
are responsive. And so I
Generally
think
they
if men understand that for them, they're, spontaneous. And so them wanting sex is different than women. It doesn't mean we don't want it. But what you're saying is you just got to
we
get
want
me
it.
going. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we
we want to
want it.
get out of our head. Out of our head is so key because we're
Yes.
already stressed, we're balancing a lot. So we need them to take control and just take all of that pressure off of us. So I love that. So basically, when men in the rock hard erections that they want in the bedroom forever, we can start with like the medical basis because we really share that approach, and then things they can do at home. So even getting to like things we can do in the office if they're noticing changes. Number one, I say to men, and I'll see where you are, the earlier they notice any changes. Is the time to really approach somebody that specializes in this so that we can, yes, there's at home things we'll do, but since you and I are very pro regenerative because we want that tissue healthy and we want rock hard erections for a lifetime. That acoustic shockwave would be one of them that we both share in an approach. Do you want to talk a little bit with that about men and how that
Will you
works?
just
Go
tell
ahead.
me
Sorry.
your stack?
Okay.
I want to see
All right.
what your stack and my stack
Perfect.
are. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So what we end up doing is, again, when we see men and they come in for erectile changes, and again, you'll get them sometimes, like you said, 50% of men at 50, 40% or 40% of men at 40. So like even into the 30s, we'll see erectile changes.
Yes.
And so we always will do an assessment to score to kind of get an objective number. And then our core basis is acoustic shockwave in a series, depending on what that assessment is. So if it's just a mild dysfunction, it's, a smaller series. And then a larger one, the more advanced they are, the more improvement we want to see. I don't like to say the more dysfunction. I just like to say that we want to improve it more. And then I always pair that with regenerative injectables. So we kind of talked before in how we stack exosomes, and that's what I'm using now with PRP. So PRP or the P shot. And again, one or a series, depending on how much improvement we need to make. And then exosomes is kind of taking that P shot we call it the P shot on steroids. I know a lot of places will use stem cell, and then some will use exosomes. We use exosomes now. And then
Whose
always use a
exosomes are you
vacuum.
using right now?
Chimera.
Chimera. Okay, good.
Yeah, that's who we use. I don't use stem cell right now. I did use stem cell initially, but I found great results with the Chimera product.
Yeah.
And then always in conjunction with the penis pump or vacuum erection device, so that the healthier blood flow they can get in when we're doing those regenerative procedures, the better. And again, erections as well. So we will pair that with the PD5 inhibitors. We usually use a combination of the long-acting tadalafil and then sildenafil, where they get long and short-acting, and it's in a troche form.
Yeah.
And then obviously Berkeley Life and nitric oxide, because that's so key for getting that PD5 inhibitor to work. And then obviously peptides. When we're talking about PT141. So PT141 is the sexual one, but obviously
nasal, or are you doing injectable, or what do you
usually
recommend?
just injectable. We have the nasal product that potentially, but we haven't seen the positive effects we've seen with PT141 injectable. And I will say
It's going to be stronger.
that everyone loves PT141. It's just a matter of when. So is it work for them in 30 minutes? Did they get a little nausea? So everyone loves it.
What do you?
It's just a matter of when. Usually even B6 will work sometimes, but Zofran if we need it.
So
But
friend,
again, that's usually dose dependent. So that first dose or higher doses. But we don't see anyone that really needs to discontinue it based on nausea. And even a B6, and you can put B6 even in the product, is very helpful for that. And so those are the big things. And obviously hormones is just
testosterone.
optimizing. Yeah, and we comprehensively address it because there's like a lot of low T clinics and they'll do injectables. But honestly, if I see a man with improvement we want to make from an erection standpoint, we will potentially, pursue pellets with them because then we take fluctuations out of it and they just get that steady release of testosterone. So any hormonal component is gone so that we don't have that fluctuation. And then we do the regenerative treatments and then reassess after that first series. But
What
amazing
about
results
topical
with it.
testosterone, like on the scrotum or just on the skin? Are you using any topicals?
No, hardly
No.
ever use topical. And the reason why is multifold. So number one, so you can use, in my opinion, topical or a troche is really of testosterone is mainly for short duration.
Yeah.
So a pre-sex, pre-workout. But because there's a large spike, but then it drops off, whenever you have those fluctuations, in my opinion, when you peak, you're going to get the conversion to DHT and more in the way of side effects. And it doesn't absorb well through the skin. We hardly use it at all on women, and we don't use it on men. Topical is the one form that we don't do of testosterone. I just don't find good absorption. Yeah. And then obviously for a female, more particular, the DHT or that 5-alpha reductase for testosterone to DHT is in the hair follicle.
Yeah.
And so you're going to get more conversion. And when you're getting fluctuations and it's peaking, you get more conversion. So I just see way more in the way of side effects with topical. So I'm usually going through the skin or an injection or pellets. Those are the two ways that we do it.
Yeah, that's good.
Have you seen a lot of improvement in your patients that you have with topical?
Well, I don't have patience. I'm an author of passionate lovemaking techniques. So
Correct.
yeah,
But you do hear feedback. So yes,
I do
I
hear
agree.
feedback, but it's all over the map.
Gotcha.
I really hear
Okay.
feedback from all over the map. So some people
Yeah.
don't like the pellets because they feel like there is too much of a wane at the end and that it doesn't last quite 30 days. Others don't want injections. They like the topical on the scrotum or even the skin. I mean, I just think I think you just got to play around with that stuff and see how it does for you. But you definitely want to be
agree.
under a doctor's care. That's for sure.
So I agree with all that from a standpoint, just to give you feedback from an active practice that sees both men
Yes.
and women, that so that when you do run across it with clients, because you do have a lot of clients, again, the thing that we love, both of us, is that we want to talk about sex. We want people to have a better sex life.
Yeah.
And so what I have found in practice is that topical, and I know there's a lot of talk about topical or the creams or gels for testosterone. I don't find them to be effective, but I think that everyone is obviously their own patient. For us, we customize it for them. It's their journey. I just present them with the best information. And I just find that if you really want to feel your best, and yes, you'll hear it wanes or they got too much initially. You know what that means, Susan? They just need to see their provider more consistently, and the provider needs to get to know them better. We customize it. We don't run into those issues long term because it might take us, 9 or 12 months to get them completely solid. But our goal is to transform lives and to have them really feeling their best.
Oh,
And that
God.
means better sex for all ages. Again.
And the
Yeah,
testosterone
so-
makes you feel so good. I would not, it's funny. I take estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone, and I make a lot of oxytocin myself because I make my own homemade lactobacillus reuteri yogurt so that I have high oxytocin function. And, the combination of those things is wonderful, but I'll tell you, the very last hormone I'd give up might be testosterone. I love, and it's not just for the libido piece of it, honestly, because my libido is so responsive. It doesn't make me running around horny. It does for some women, not for me. But I like it for lifting in the gym. I like it for my confidence and my drive to accomplish, because I'm in the height of my career right now in my mid 60s. And so I just like it for the kind of like get her done piece of it. And I also like the timbre of my voice. I like the sound. I like the way I sound on testosterone, and I just titrate it. I do topical on the clitoral structure. I do some topical through the skin, and I just titrate constantly because I notice that sometimes I need more and sometimes I need less. So I really like the topical for myself personally. And I just do it right up to the chin hair, and then I cut, and then I pull back a little bit. If I get a little acne or a little mustachy hair or something, I just pull back. So I do really like that. But I want to tell you what my stack is too, because I think it's really interesting. We are definitely running in parallel. The very first thing that I do is I say, go get your testosterone checked. Get on testosterone therapy and build yourself back up, or take a testosterone precursor or a supplement to see if you can improve your testosterone. Get into the gym and lift heavy. Do some high intensity interval training, whether that's a Vasper and sprinting or whatever, or run up the hill in your driveway. I don't care. Get out there and push. Lift hard and heavy a couple times a week. That's number one. Number two, take a nitric oxide booster. Now, I make my own. It's different than Berkeley's. Berkeley's a great product. They sell through the medical community. That's their distribution. I have a direct-to-consumer supplement company, and I make a food-derived nitric oxide booster that's citrulline-based, made from organic watermelon rind, spinach, organic spinach, and some pine bark, Pinus pinaster. That's a common one. Pycnogenol is the kind of branded name of it. And I just like food-derived supplementation whenever I can get it. So I really like that. So get on a nitric oxide booster, get your partner on a nitric oxide booster. Because we know by the time you're 40, you have 40 or 50, you have half the nitric oxide production. Get off the antibacterial mouthwash, get off the proton pump inhibitors, and fix your gut. So those really systemic types of things. And of course, Dr. Nathan Bryan is the one who taught us about the bacterial crypts in your tongue and the gastric pump and all of those kinds of things. I love that man. He's so good. So he's a nitric oxide scholar, really. And so nitric oxide supplementation, and I'll send you some of my Flow nitric oxide booster.
Yes.
And I'll give your listeners a free bottle. I do that when I go on shows. If you go to getflowfree.com, you can try it and see if you like it. The other, because, not everyone comes into your office. This is a, mass market channel that you're running. Then the next thing I do is I say, get a vacuum erection device. The one that I've been recommending for decades now is the Dr. Joel Kaplan device. It's a device that has dual cylinders. I think it's really good for improving both length and girth. I've written a book called The Pumping Guide that has, helped more than 20,000 men now get bigger, reverse atrophy with pumping. And I know every trick in the book for penis pumps, how to not hurt yourself, get the results you want as fast as you can. And the data is so strong, the data that they've collected through their app, etc. So the pump, bringing the blood into the penis a few times a week, is really interesting. And now there's a new pump that I'm checking out too. I'll connect you with them. It's a pulsing pump, and it does pulsation and rapid interval pumping. It's an automated pump that's hands-free, and it actually will pull the blood in or pull and release. And one of the things that and they're doing studies now, they're working on getting their studies and their data. But what's interesting about it is that my sense is that it is going to give results, especially around vascular elasticity. And that those tissues, the veins they get friable as you age. They get thin, they get brittle, they get coated with they get calcified. And so when you would normally use a penis pump, you'd pull the blood in and hold it. and then release. And I like this new pulsing pump feature of the exercise of the pulling. If you think about, would you do one static lift in the gym, or would you do repetitive
Continuous,
lift, continuous repetition for increased muscle gain? You do the latter. And so it's an interesting thing that will be proven out, but I'm very interested in both the rapid intervals and the pulsation as kind of a next generation pumping strategy. That's at pulsingpump.com.
Yeah, very interesting.
That. Yeah, I'll have one sent to you.
Yes, and we'll put all these links in the show notes too, for sure.
And if that doesn't get, I always like to leave links because people are like, where's the thing? You know, and I don't like to disappoint anyone.
Yes.
When you are pumping at home, one of the things that I speak to a lot of women, I speak to a lot of perimenopausal, menopausal women. And one of the things I always talk about to them is, if you're in relationship with a penis owning partner, encourage them to pump, give them the time and the space to pump, and remind them to pump, because it is literally, that is, and eating your leafy greens and going to the gym. Those are the things that keep you from atrophying and losing your erectile capacity, your blood carrying capacity. Those are the things that keep, and I love when I get pictures from men and they're like, the vein just popped back on my penis. Look how it looks. They're so excited. A return to health. So pumps are fantastic. Not the junky stuff, not the stuff on Amazon, not the adult store stuff. Generally, they don't carry. They carry what I would consider to be like, toy-like products, not $200 to $400 range. $200 to have a hard dick the rest of your life. The pumps last forever. Why would you not do that? So I think pumps are
correct.
And then, of course, moving into regenerative therapy. And I have been talking about Shockwave since 2017. I've been recommending Shockwave. And I think acoustic wave technology is 1,000% efficacious. The stimulating new tissue growth, new capillary growth, new innervation nerve, regaining sensitivity. You can't, there's nothing better than a series of treatments of Shockwave every few years to keep that in perfect condition. And I love stacking it. Of course, we started with PRP, but now we have advances into exosomes and stem cells. I mean, I have personally harvested my own stem cells. I banked them at American Cell Tech, and I have put them everywhere: my scalp, my face, my entire body, in my ligaments, in my joints, in my clitoris, in my urethral sponge. You know, I just stick them everywhere.
It's magical.
Oh my God, I love stem cells. But, you know, exogenous exosomes, put in your own PRP, start there. You don't have to go straight to I always like a stack that is budget to luxury. And budget is nitric oxide supplement and a penis pump. Regular pumping. And then intermediate is add in your acoustic wave, and luxury is add in, and exosomes are kind of in the middle of intermediate and luxury. Stem cells are luxury. And so, hey, you do what you can afford to do, but there's your options. And I also like aphrodisiacs. I like, one of the supplements that I make is a daily multivitamin, multi-mineral complex. It's called Desire. And I make 3 different flavors, if you will. It's a 100% complete US RDA multivitamin, multi-mineral complex, because like, if you're taking testosterone or you're low on testosterone, you don't have any boron, you know, you literally can't couple the protein to get free, you know, you can't unbind the testosterone. Like, simple things. Start with the simple things, like multivitamin, multi-mineral for things like magnesium and copper and all the stuff that is missing out of our food supplies these days. Start with that. But what I did was I put Libido Botanicals in the vitamins. So you don't have to take more pills. You just take your vitamins and the libido botanicals in there, and the 3 that I use, and you rotate them every 30 days. You have a new bottle, and the new bottle is a different one of the 3, and then you start over. Because what happens with libido botanicals is that they take about 10 days for you to start to feel effect, but then after another 3 weeks, they kind of wane. And so by what's called herb cycling, this is traditional Chinese medicine, really, is herb cycling, where each month you're stimulating slightly different pathways with slightly different botanicals. And the 3 that I chose because I can get an efficacious dose in the vitamin without you having to take so much material. Like I can't put maca in a vitamin. You need a lot of material. Now, just eat some dark chocolate. I don't need to put that in your vitamin. But I chose Tribulus terrestris, fenugreek, and Tongkat Ali. And they're good for the male and the female body. So a lot of my couples both take it. And Tribulus is kind of like the flirty, playful botanical. Tongkat is like the...
they're not going to forget this. Yeah.
No. And then fenugreek is more like flow state, ecstatic pleasure, dreamy, luxurious lovemaking. Like they have a profile, these plants. We've been walking around on Earth for, well, not just Homo sapien, but Homo erectus. We've been around a couple million years. We've been eating whatever makes us horny because we like to feel horny. These are very established botanicals that also have clinical data behind them. So I think, and then there's another product I like. I don't know if I have any right here. Let me see if I can find one.
So the Desire is one of them, and then the names for the other ones are...
They're all Desire. It's just the 3 flavors.
Gotcha. Okay. And then cycling through them 30 days of each one and cycling through. Okay. Yeah. Well, good for women. Good for women too, right? Well, I'm trying them. So women can do this.
Enough for both.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love that.
But the other thing that I've been doing is nude water, NUUD. They have a libido electrolyte. And this is another fundamental issue, is that people walk around dehydrated. Like how much blood are you going to get in that penis or in that vulva if you're dehydrated? You got to have blood flow. Everything around sex works really well. Everybody thinks it's my hormones, it's my libido. No, it's like responsive desire and hydration and blood flow. It's like so simple.
Yeah.
And learning some things to do, like, so you're not bored to death. And learning to talk about it, it's like the basics. And there's a company called Nude Pleasures, and they have this product called Nude Water. And it's just an electrolyte that you pour into your water bottle. And you can really only drink it every 3 days or so. And what I love about it is they formulated it without any artificial flavors or colors. I hate artificial flavors and colors. Or natural flavors and colors, which is just bull malarkey.
Another term for it, yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so what they did was they used blueberry powder, raspberry powder. That's what gives it the flavor, is real fruit. It really, you can see my ethos is a very kind of whole foods orientation.
Well, I knew that as soon as you said you were making stuff, I knew that. Yes. Yeah.
So I cook all my own food. I really don't like to eat out. I really like to eat as healthy as I can, make my own yogurt, all kinds of things like that.
But that's why you have a great sex life, and that's why you look amazing. So those 2 things
of my life to date keeps getting better. I am coming so well. My sex life is so fun. It's so satisfying. It's so creative. It's so just wild and exciting. And
I love it.
When you have a great sex life, you have a level of trust with your partner, connection to your partner, connection to self, a spring in your step, sexual vitality. Not to mention, girl, I can plank like nobody's business. I can hold myself up on my hands and knees for so long, coming the whole time.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
I can really, I'm a champion. I'm Olympic level sex person. And it's so,
Love this.
all those benefits of having orgasms is one thing, but just like the pelvic musculature, the overall body strength and stamina that you get, and sense of self and confidence
Oh,
and
yes.
vitality, and God,
The
I mean, everybody
interplay.
in the world, I wish everybody in the world could come to you and get Shockwave, PRP, exosomes, walk out of there with a penis pump and some nitric oxide supplements.
Hmm.
If this were a part of our whole care, it would be
Yes.
so it's a shame this has to be, for the most part, out of pocket, because it is a fundamental part of longevity.
Yes, it is a physiology system that we have ignored. But having said that, I feel like even for that, the education, even for men, like, and we have a lot of male viewers, but a lot of them can't find providers
Right.
in all the areas. So
Mhm.
it's frequently what they're doing is, you have somebody like you in New York or, California. There's lots of different. So there's a big need for that. But before even, because I know we're on a time limitation, but I want to talk about women too. Like,
Yeah.
again, because I feel like I would never just do one or the other. We do a lot of couples, but there's a missing piece in education and service availability, like of what we do
Yeah.
everywhere, and for both men and women. So
Yeah.
when it comes to women,
Mhm.
again, one of the things that comes to mind is you talk about erections and erectile tissue, and I
Yeah.
get very passionate when we start talking about the vagina too,
Me too.
because men need to understand it, but
Yeah.
so do women.
Yeah.
And so we have, like, in my mind, I term it the female sex system. It's not a reproductive system, but we've become conceptualized within medicine as a
Mhm.
reproductive system.
Mhm.
And so if you look at the reproductive system, the clitoris isn't even on the
I know.
diagram,
I know.
right? So it's all about reproduction, almost inside out. And the clitoris, the vulva, the erectile tissues that are so crucial for a woman in sexual pleasure and arousal aren't even on. And anatomy, so medical doctors don't know it either. It's not just the public. We're teaching patients from a physician standpoint, we're teaching patients, and we have in the medical system, about reproduction only and not about sex, but they're living those
Yeah.
experiences every day with questions and encounters, and they don't know what to do. So when we're talking about women, just so that they know
Mhm.
that blood flow and focus is the clitoris front
Mhm.
and center.
Mhm.
So would you agree? Like, again, I think everyone needs to know that that's not what people think of when they think about women and sex. It's not like the clitoris is front and center in everyone's mind.
Mhm.
And how much would you, again, blood flow wise, erectile tissue,
Mhm.
do you have providers that are doing a lot of the sexual regeneration with women too? Are you
Mhm.
seeing a lot of women do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily, more and more women are. And usually, what happens is women tend to go get shockwave, acoustic wave, when their orgasm has diminished to the point where they don't feel anything anymore. And they're like, I got to go talk to a doctor about this. Um, or the vagina is so thin, the tissue got so thin
Mhm.
that intercourse is painful. Those are the two most common motivations. The third one, of course, is incontinence, urge and
Mhm.
stress incontinence. So here's the things I like to say to women. The first is that I say, imagine a banana. And now you can imagine that that's a penis, right? And interestingly, a penis approximately is like 50% sticks out, but that erectile tissue that makes that penis go from a tiny little nub to a banana, it goes in and down toward the testicles as well. So there's a lot of that buried erectile tissue. So that whole amount of tissue is in our vulva as well. It's in three tubes, three masses, if you will. just the same as a penis. There's 3 tubes in a penis of erectile tissue. There's 3 tubes that got a little funnily rearranged. Actually, we're the original. The penis came from
Yes, no, that's
vulva,
the whole
right?
embryologic development.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So it started as
I'm gonna
3
have-
pieces that are around the vagina, and it's the clitoral system, the arms, the legs, the body, the glands, the head, the neck, all those pieces. The urethral sponge, which people call a G spot, it's not a spot, it's a long tube, and the perineal sponge on the floor of the vagina, between the vagina and the rectum. So the vagina, and I don't like to call it a canal, that's like the birth canal, reproductively oriented, rather than, I call it a pocket or a cavern. Cavern when it gets aroused, pocket beforehand. When you put something in, it expands, but it's flat, it's pushed together in there. We don't walk around with a tube in our body, we walk around flat. And the blood has to flow into all these nooks and crannies for it to expand, so we get our lady erection, our clitoral erection, if you will. But it's really clitoral, perineal, and urethral erection,
It's
right?
a complex. Yes, it's a whole complex. Yeah.
And where the pubic hair is, the mons, where the shaft goes in, really needs a lot of stimulation. It hardly ever gets touched unless it just gets banged and pulverized.
And that's erectile tissue as well.
It is. And so everywhere there's pubic hair is highly arousing, as well as the inner labia inside in the vestibule, where the G spot comes right to the end around the urethral exit is very pleasurable. The introital sphincter, the opening to the vagina, very pleasurable. And then the whole vaginal pocket, it doesn't just, the vaginal mucosal lining doesn't just want to be pleasured. The tissue on the other side, all of the meat in the pelvic bowl, wants to become engorged and full of blood. So what do? You go back to topical vaginal estrogen, as well as oral or whatever estrogen delivery patch, whatever you want, progesterone to balance it, testosterone to improve clitoral integrity, and it keeps it massy, it keeps it thick and meaty. You want the tissue meaty, not sagging. Yes. And that the labia begin to sag as you age. And now there's like Ozempic penis, Ozempic, GLP-1 vagina, vanishing clitoris, all of these things, right?
Yes. We've heard them all, the Ozempic vulva, again, the labia disappear. I heard that on social media too. And I was like, it's actually not the case with age. But again, I was waiting for my stuff. I have a clitoris figurine, but no one's like around me to grab it just to see. But the bottom line is that I think erectile tissue is in that blood flow component that women, they need to think about, and men too, because that's where the responsive desire comes from, right? Is that all of a sudden you're arousing and you get better blood flow with it. Again, there was my clitoris. I know you probably have all kinds of bigger versions of this even. But
I just wish it had
all of those.
I just wish it had the urethral sponge and the perineal sponge attached to it, so that women could see all 3 parts of our erectile tissue. I feel like it's not enough.
I think that there's probably a 3D version. I've looked at some. There was a pillow that they did on Saturday Night Live, which I loved. Did you see that?
I didn't see it, but I've seen the pillows. Yeah.
Yes, but I think just knowing that, again, this is surrounding the vaginal canal and the G-spot, it's a complex, but they need to focus in on blood flow with it. Yeah. But I think that the crucial part is that with women, blood flow does matter, that external, when it comes to hormones, and you talked about that, that's where I think that potentially the androgen receptors are more dense in the vulva. And the clitoris, and then once you get into the vaginal canal, it's more estrogen. But I always say the vagina wants to hug in, make every penis feel special. It's accommodating, whether it's length or round, it's just going to hug onto it. And that's what you wanted to do. But I will say And I would hate to even think that I could possibly make your sex life better, but we do a lot of vaginal rejuvenation with, I say lasers, but it doesn't really mean lasers, because I found recently that I think people think of lasers, they think of ablative, but we have heating ones. And then we have a thing that's called a clitoral stem, where you actually do just the light from the laser, and it's a photobiomodulation that brings the stem cells to the clitoris. And then we add in, again, PRP or regenerative injections, the exosomes. But there's a lot of the lasers that we can do that are really increasing that nerve and blood flow. I don't use as much acoustic wave on women as I do with the lasers. And then we have one that does a facelift for the vagina on the outside, and it's the most transformative that I've seen. We've done the lasers on the outside before thinking that it's tightening, but it also brings blood flow and nerve. So when we get off, I'm going to show you pictures, but that is something that, again, I would love to, at some point, once we talk about, I think that you would be very interested in after, because I always say we can, for a woman, because of childbirth, because of hormonal changes, that in a couple hours we can change, and it's a new vagina in a couple hours, just because of better blood flow, regeneration. Then you can do injectables with it, and then you come to the outside and it's tightening. And so I think there's a lot of misinformation. Women don't understand the clitoris, the blood flow, the hormonal aspect, and that's where creams also, may play a role, in addition to even what else we're doing, just because I've had a lot of women that like that on the outside, because the androgen receptors are right there. Yeah. And so there's so much you can do just to increase blood flow and orgasmic strength, because, again, it takes a beating over time, right?
Yes.
So you got to tighten it. Yes. And it's meant to. Betty White said it best, thins. Right? Yes. And the tissue thins.
Yeah.
And I recently also had, there was a book that I had read, and it was about great sex starting at 50, but I don't feel like the book is saying anything but that. It basically is kind of contradicting almost what we say, that orgasms shouldn't matter after that age, that it should just be about intimacy.
Oh, that makes me so mad.
And that lubricants are absolutely necessary. You can't have sex without them. But honestly, I think with a lot of regeneration, that even doesn't play as big a role. And so, doesn't it? When they start to talk about the orgasms, they lost me. I didn't read the entire book, only because by chapter 3, when they were saying, isn't it about connection? Why are we focused on orgasms? And I'm like, everyone's focused on orgasm. Yeah, I hate to tell,
orgasms,
but everyone's focused on orgasm. So
I want to say there's 2 other things that I'd like to come. I've got to go. I'm keynoting Stimulate, the show in Nashville in August.
Yes, Nashville. I'm actually going to come. I'm going to be over there.
Okay, good. Super. Let's get together. Because I would like to come and experience some of the laser things that you're doing. I didn't like laser 1.0 stuff. I preferred the Shockwave to the lasering. I felt that it was too, it's like it burned my vagina and it didn't do anything for my vulva. And I didn't like the first generation. And I'm open to learning more about that. But one of the things that I've been recommending for years now is red light therapy, the V-Fit, the vagina device with the red light therapy that you can do at home. And I'm just now also recommending something called the Ellatone, which is both male and female incontinence. It's a little gel pad that you can wear, and you can work and do anything you want while you're wearing it. And it's doing signaling into your system to rejuvenate the pelvic musculature and to reset the mind to bladder connection, which can get disrupted for many, many reasons. And so that's an interesting therapy too. So we're getting a lot of at-home devices. So for me, for women, the stack looks like, start with your hormones, add your nitric oxide supplementation, use a vaginal estrogen serum. I also like CBD based lubricants. So I have a thing I call my pleasure protocol. It's melts that go internal into the vagina that are cocoa butter with CBD, and they coat the vaginal canal. And same with androgen receptors and estrogen receptors. We have a lot of endocannabinoid receptors in our vulvovaginal system. And that system is a pleasure healing pathway. So it's very good for dryness, painful sex, etc. And then externally, I like their arousal oil and their sex oil because even though I'm very juicy now with all the regenerative things that I've done, I mean, there's many times when I'm lower in lubrication or I want more lubrication, more slip and slide. And so I have all that stuff all across my bed. I have all my little things I love to use, and I use them when I need them and I don't when I don't. And what I like is that they're all natural. So you just pat yourself with a towel. And if you've had intercourse and now you want to have oral or you want to switch back and forth, you're not eating anything. It's all natural. It's literally like you could eat it, which is nice. So I like those devices. I like the vagina device, the red light therapy, photobiomodulation, the vibration that it gives for Kegel toning, and the warmth, which helps with recollagenation. I like the Ellatone for home incontinence reversal. I like the Shockwave, and that's why I want to learn more about the lasers with you. Because I have not been recommending them because I thought they were too harsh and they were only vaginal. They didn't do the extra. That's why I always went Shockwave. And of course, I love the PRP. I don't love the PRP as much as I like stem cells, but I'm spoiled. And that's because PRP it essentially calls in the repair factors because you're doing slight bits of inflammation. And you can skip all that by going straight to exosomes and stem cells, which are just reparation. So I've done my own stem cells into my clitoris. I've done exogenous stem cells into my clitoris. I've done exosome. I like all of them. And I think, you can't do this stuff once. These are things just like if you're doing lasering or, anything on your skin or your face or what have you, you have to keep up with it. You are aging as you go. But boy, I think that at this point, I'll be 65 in a couple of months, and my vulvovaginal system is more luscious, juicy, orgasmic, responsive, confident, pleasurable, beautiful than it has ever been in my life. I'm talking about 20s, 30s, you name it. My vagina, my vulva, it's beautiful. And you know what else I'm doing? And I saw you had a video on this. I am growing my gray bush back. I'm not going to shave anymore. I never did the laser because I was like, what if someday I don't want to look like a prepubescent child? And in light of everything that's been going on in the universe, I have put out an APB and I've been like, you will be seeing gray fur now and you will be loving it. Thank you very much.
I love it. I love it. Well, you saw that the jury is out on that. They want the bush. Just so you know, because we did a poll at the beginning just with my office staff, and everyone was like, no, the bush isn't coming back. When if you've lasered, yes, it cannot come back.
Right.
But the men want the bush. That was the state of the bush.
I like it trimmed down. I don't want, a giant amount of pubic hair, but I like a soft mat now. And it was a little, the first couple times I was, like looking down there and it was gray, I had to confront my own mortality. But I'll tell you something about confronting your own mortality. It makes every day sweeter. It makes every orgasm sweeter. You got one life to live. You might as well, have great sex till the day you die. And I'm not going gray on top yet. I think I might be blonde. My mom was blonde until the day. I think you should stay blonde. When you look this good blonde, you need to stay blonde for sure. I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
But the carpet doesn't match the drapes anymore, Dr. Durst.
That's okay. That's okay. When you gotta put your glasses on to see whether it's turned gray down there, then it's a sign. Just maybe keep it. Yeah. Because that'll happen. But you know what? You bring that probably happened. But I will say this, that like you hit one crucial point, and I won't keep you after that, but I do want to show you a few things
Yeah.
after, because
Good.
I think that number one, what I want to get to is there is no one and done in life. You talked about that. Like we have like given people from an aesthetic standpoint, and now even a wellness standpoint, as if they can do one thing and it fixes a series. But yes, you're going to continuously, we work out, we do, nutritious habits, we brush our teeth every day. So again, sexual health
Yeah.
is that there is no one and done. You have to upkeep that on a daily basis, just like
Like
nutrition,
everything.
just like fitness. But also I think that the lasers with women and just the rejuvenation that can happen, I agree with you that ablative laser that came out first was a little harsh.
Yeah.
Nothing we do is ablative. So
Yeah.
it's a re-education, because I
Yes.
was recently at the cosmetic gynecology, and to them lasers meant ablation, honestly. And I didn't really realize that that's what people think of. So these are gentle, just heating to tell it it's injured. And so amazing results. But anyhow, yes, we will talk at Stimulate.
I can't
And
wait.
then I'm going to send you some stuff and pictures, and then we'll see what you think after that. Because the transformative facelift, like the 4V facelift, is you'll see the pictures and just see differences. And some of them are just immediately after.
Yeah, I can't wait to
So
see
it's
it all.
amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that we can't show these things online. I mean, I actually had anatomy drawings done of the vulvovaginal system and all the erectile tissue. And I didn't pick them up and show them during this conversation with you because I didn't want you to get strikes on your YouTube channel. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous that
I
I
know.
can't show you what the that we can't have a video showing the erectile tissue of the vulvovaginal system in today's age.
No,
It's
correct.
just
Correct.
ridiculous.
Well, we're going to keep pushing it.
We
I don't
are.
like to be told.
We
I don't
are.
like to be told no for an answer, and I'm sure you don't either. So we're just going to change it over time. We're going to show all the things. I'll help change that, because even if it is, again, I think we're talking about hormones more. With men, maybe we're talking about sex a little more, but they still are left without like real solutions everywhere. And so
Yes.
I think we just need to bring that to everyone, and we will make progress every time. We're just getting started, is what you're saying.
Kindred spirits. It was so nice
Yes,
to be
I
with
love
you today.
it.
Thank
Yes,
you very
thank
much.
you
This is
so
the beginning of
much.
many more things we do together. I have a
Yes,
feeling.
no, I cannot wait. So just know that, Susan, thank you so much for being with us. Susan Bratton, she has 44 books. You have a lot of books out there, a lot of education. We'll do links in the show notes for the supplements, the things we've talked about. And then we're going to do more in the future, because we want to deep dive into all the things juicy, right?
All the things.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much. And again, if you have any questions or comments or want to share experiences or thoughts, please do. Let's start a conversation in the comments. Thank you.